Hey, it's that card girl, and today we're going to be jumping back into One Piece starter decks with the Red Shanks Starter Deck 23. As is the case for all the One Piece starter decks, this comes with the 50 card deck, the leader card, and 10 Dawn cards, plus a booster pack. In this case, it's OP 11. So let's get into this box and take a look at our deck. There's the quick start how-to guide for playing the game that doubles as a basic playmat, and then we have our deck, and the Fist of Divine Speed pack. We'll set that aside to open when we're finished going through the deck and upgrades for it. The deck has our leader Shanks on top, Dawn cards on the bottom, and the deck in the middle. Let's get to unwrapping this and see what ST23 has to offer. Starting with our 5 life, 5000 power leader Shanks. And then we have 2 copies of 6 cost, 4000 power Uta with a 2000 counter. Two copies of the 9 cost 10,000 power Shanks, 2 copies of the 4 cost 5k power Ben Beckman with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 1 cost 2k power Monkey D. Luffy with a 1k counter, 4 copies of 1 cost 1k power Yasop with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 5 cost 7k power Howling Gab with a 1k counter, 4 copies of 4 cost 5k power Bonk Punch with a 1k counter, 4 copies of 3 cost 3k power Hongo with a 2k counter, 4 copies of 3 cost 4k power Monster with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 5 cost 6k power Yasop with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 3 cost 3k power Lime Juice with a 2k counter, 4 copies of the 4 cost 5k power Lucky Roo with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 4 cost 6k power Rockstar with a 1k counter, and then we have 4 copies of our 1 cost event, Come On, We'll Fight You. And then, of course, we have our 10 Dawn cards. Now, this is not a brand new leader, and all but 5 of these cards are reprints of previous cards. However, this is the first time that this has had its very own starter deck, so let's take a closer look at these cards, starting with our leader Shanks. He's the 4 Emperors and red-haired pirate type with the effect that once per turn lets you give your opponent's leader or 1 character card minus 1000 power when your opponent attacks. And then we have our event card, Come On, We'll Fight You, which is a nice 1 cost searcher card. During your main phase, when you play this event, you get a look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 red-haired pirates type card besides this one, and put it in your hand, returning the other cards to the bottom of your deck in whatever order you want. It's got a trigger as well that lets you draw 1 card. Lucky Roo is a blocker that on KO lets you KO one of your opponent's characters with a base power of 6,000 or less, so long as your leader is a red-haired pirates type, which Shanks is. I do like that this card specifies a base power of 6k or less, so it doesn't matter what Dawn or effects your opponent has on their character. If that card says 6k or under, it can be KO'd with this. Lime Juice has an on-play effect that makes it where your opponent can't activate up to 1 of their blockers with 4k power or less for the turn. And then there's Bonk Punch and Monster who work together. When you play Bonk Punch, you can play 1 monster from your hand. And also, if you attach 1 Dawn card, when attacking, he gains 2k power for the turn. So with the added 1k power from the Dawn, you're looking at this being an 8k power card. And Monster has the effect where if Bonk Punch would be KO'd by an effect, you can trash Monster instead. So kind of a personal blocker card for Bonk Punch you can play for free. Hongo has a main phase effect where you can rest him, and so long as your leader is a red-haired pirates type, you can give one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power for the turn. The 5-cost Yasop has the on-play effect of giving your leader plus 1k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. And if you attach a Dawn card, when attacking with him, you can give one of your opponent's characters minus 1000 power for the turn. Howling Gab and Rockstar are both just base cards with no effects. Moving to the 5 new cards for this starter, we have our Monkey D. Luffy. During your main phase, you can rest one Dawn card and this character and give one of your opponent's characters minus 1k power for the turn. A pretty cheap way to knock a character's power down since you're probably not going to be swinging with the 2k power card. The 1-cost Yasop has a main phase effect that you can activate once per turn. It lets you give one rested Dawn card to your leader or character. So you can rest the Dawn for the Luffy and then use the Yasop to move it somewhere a bit more useful. Ben Beckman lets you trash one card from your hand on play and then KO one of your opponent's characters with a base power of 4000 or less, so long as your leader is a red-haired pirates type. And then we have Uta, who is a blocker. She has the fun provision though, where if you have a character with 10k power or more, you can pay 4 less Dawn to play her from your hand, making her a 2-cost blocker. Speaking of cards with 10,000 power, we have our character Shanks, who, if your opponent has a character with 8,000 base power or more, costs 3 less Dawn to play from your hand. His on-play effect lets your leader gain plus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase, so long as your leader is a red-haired pirates type, or Uta. Now, that's all the cards that come with this deck, so let's move on to talking about some possible upgrade cards. Fair warning, we're going to start with quite a few Shanks. Starting with the 10-cost 12,000 power Shanks from OP06 that on play lets you KO one of your opponent's characters with 10,000 power or less. A big hitter that lets you take out one of your opponent's big hitters just by entering the board. There's also another 10-cost 12,000 power Shanks, this time from OP09. He has Rush, letting you attack with him the turn he's played, and gives all of your opponent's characters minus 1000 power. Then we have our 9-cost 10k power Shanks from OP01, who has Rush, and when attacking makes it to where your opponent cannot activate a blocker that has 2k or less power. The 6-cost 7k power Shanks with a 1k counter was a promo card from the weekly Shonen Jump magazine issue number 46 of 2024. Don't worry though, there's quite a few listings for this card on TCG Player. Now, if you attach one Dawn card, when attacking you can trash one character card from your hand to be able to give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1k power for the turn. Then you get to draw one card. A nice way to get rid of a card you don't want out of your hand, make a character a bit easier to hit, and see if maybe the next card in your deck is one you'd want to play. Then we have the 2-cost stage card Red Force from OP09. During your main phase, you can rest this stage and give one of your opponent's characters minus 1k power for the turn as long as your leader is a red-haired pirates type, which, again, Shanks is. Now we have our events. There's the 4-cost Gum Gum Jet Pistol from Starter Deck 1 that can be played during your main phase and lets you KO one of your opponent's characters with 6k power or less. Its trigger also gives you the same effect. The 2-cost Gum Gum Dawn Whip from ST21 can be played during your main phase to give one of your leader or characters plus 1k power for the turn, and then one of your opponent's blockers with 4k power or less cannot block during that turn as well. The trigger effect allows you to KO one of your opponent's characters with 4000 power or less. 3-cost Get Out of Here from OP09 lets you KO up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a total power of 4000 or less. The no-cost Bad Manners Kick Course from OP04 is a counter card that has you trash one card from your hand to give your leader or one of your characters plus 3000 power for that battle. So, no Dawn cost, but a hand cost instead. If you get this from your life cards, the trigger lets you give one of your opponent's leaders or character cards minus 3k power during that turn. 4-cost Gum Gum Mole Pistol from ST21 can be played during your main phase to give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5k power during the turn. Then, so long as you have a character with 6k power or more, you can KO one of your opponent's characters with 2k power or less. And the trigger is the same effect. 1 cost Divine Departure from OP10 can be played either during your main phase or as a counter card. If you're playing it during your main phase, you rest 5 Dawn cards and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8k power or less. Using it as a counter lets you give your leader plus 3k power for the battle. 2 cost Nobody Hurts a Friend of Mine from OP09 is used during your main phase to give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 3k power during that turn, so long as your leader has the red-haired pirates type. Then you can draw a card as long as your opponent has a character with 5k power or more. The trigger effect just allows you to draw 1 card. 1 cost Guard Point from Starter Deck 1 is a counter card that gives one of your leader or characters plus 3k power for that battle. And the trigger effect gives one of your leader or characters plus 1k power. Ute from OP09 is a film type card with a cost of 1, 2k power, and a 1k counter. When you play her, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal 1 red-haired pirates type card and add it to your hand, putting the rest of them at the bottom of your deck in any order. She's off type, but a great cheap searcher card for this deck. The 1 cost 2k power Building Snake from OP09 has an effect you can activate during your main phase. You put this card at the bottom of your deck and then give one of your opponent's characters minus 3k power for the turn. Ben Beckman from OP09 is 7 cost, has 7k power and a 1k counter. On play, you can trash one of your opponent's 6k power or less characters. Since it is trashing your opponent's characters and not KOing it, this card is a great way to avoid a KO effect you don't want your opponent to get. Moving on to some off-type cards, we have the Zoro from OP01, which has a cost of 3 and 5k power, plus it's got Rush. It's a nice card to try to get out on the board early. The 5 cost 6k power 1k counter Zoro from OP11 has a main phase effect you can use once per turn to give 1 rested Dawn card to your leader or character. Monkey D. Dragon from OP07 is 8 cost and has 9,000 power. On play, you can give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or 1 character. It also has Rush. The 5 cost 6k power Monkey D. Luffy from Starter Deck 21 also has Rush and lets you give 1 rested Dawn card to your leader or a character when you attack with it. Otama from OP01 is 1 cost with no power, but she does have a 2k counter. She also has the on-play effect that lets you give one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power for the turn. Silver's Raleigh from OP09 is 5 cost, 6,000 power, and has a 1k counter. He's a blocker, and on play, if your opponent has at least 2 5k power or more characters, you get to draw 2 cards and then trash 1 card from your hand. Then we have the 8 cost 8k power Silver's Raleigh from OP08 with an on-play effect that lets you give one of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power and another of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. Alrighty, that's it for Starter Deck 23. Let's get to opening that OP11 pack. Don't forget we put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with shorts on Sundays. We mainly focus on One Piece, Pokemon, and Lorcana. And right now we're going to be doing our Starter Deck videos on Monday and Fridays. If you liked this video, make sure to check out the Starter Deck playlist that we have with our other Starter Deck videos. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and tell the next redhead you see about us. That Gargoyle out!